Vinyl, otherwise known as records or LPs, is an analog sound storage medium in the form of a flat polyvinyl chloride disc with an inscribed, modulated spiral groove. A descendant of Thomas Edison's cylindrical recordings of 1877, and more directly the disc-shaped recordings played on a gramophone invented in 1888, the LP would arrive after the shellac-based 78 format, which could play 3.5 minutes of audio per side, gave way to the superior sound and reliability of polyvinyl chloride at 15 minutes plus per side. These early mono LPs would lead to the emergence of a single song recording format known as the 45, and then later, and more importantly, the stereo LP, which would be the framework for the ubiquitous record that achieved peak popularity in the 1960s and 70s. The introduction of the digital recording format in the 80s set the stage for the transition away from analog and the all but total disappearance of vinyl from popular culture. Today, with audio downloads and streaming relegating CDs as a technology of the past, one would not expect vinyl to be alive and well. However, market feedback is showing a renewed and growing popularity in the medium. So much so that the independent pressing plants and major labels alike are also contributing to a vinyl resurgence.
I opened a record store because I love record stores, and I think they're important. And I think that a record store is more than just a store that sells music. It's also, in a very real way, a kind of community center. And that sounds cheesy to say, but I really believe that. When I was younger, I would say that the idea of a record store wasn't something that necessarily was a clear goal. But now, looking back over my life, I can see that it is probably was inevitable that I would have a record store and have this be an important part of my life.
Red Cat Records started as I was their first employee. So in 2002 the store opened and I worked there until 2005, and the former owners decided to close or sell the store. And I'd stopped working at the store at that point, and then I just couldn't stand to see a store close, and one that I loved so much, so I got involved in it and went from there.
I opened a record store in 2006 because I had been working at the radio station at the campus, and so many people kept talking about how there was nowhere in town to buy the music that we played on the radio. So I looked into it and did a business plan for just about a year, and then I ended up opening the record store.
I chose to work in a record store. I wanted to work in a record store because it just seemed like fun. I was a teenager, just obsessed with music and collecting all formats, and I lived in a little small suburban town. There was nowhere to work in that industry, so I eventually moved here, and because I was a frequenter at A&B Sound downtown on Seymour Street, I had sort of an in because I went there once a week and bought, a lot of stuff from them. And one store led to another, and yeah, it just became something that I loved doing and thought I was pretty good at, I guess.
I don't think of myself as a vinyl aficionado. Like, I have a big record collection, but it's kind of like I have a record collection because I worked in a record store for a long time. And I have a record collection because I love music, and sometimes the only way to get certain types of music is on vinyl, or had been previously.
The meaning of vinyl to me is definitely a place that you can go to and dig through records and, pick up a record, take it home, go through that ritualistic process of like cleaning it and putting it in your collection and sitting back, putting it on your turntable and actually listening to an album in its entirety and committing to, there's a level of commitment to it.
I like vinyl because I like the act of going out and digging in record stores and looking for weird things and finding music I've never seen before and listening to strange music.
I've always loved the album, even just conceptually, something you listen to from the beginning until the end. And the record is the most tangible way to experience that. You're directly connected to the music.
I like vinyl for the way that it is a material thing, like a actual object in the world. It's a thing that can be collected into a library. It takes up space. Its limitations for the way that it is able to reproduce audio are actually appealing. They're as part of an aesthetic pleasure.
My impressions of vinyl are that it is warm sounding, more so than CDs. It's fun to play. I like the pageantry of having a record and opening a record and putting a record on and flipping the record. Yeah, those are my impressions of vinyl. It's also dusty.
Vinyl is important to me. It's a full-on experience, you know, just from selecting which record I want and going through and looking at the spines and pulling various things out and what am I in the mood for and popping it out of the sleeve and dropping the needle on the turntable. It's a nice experience.
I love the experience of listening to music on vinyl. I love a record collection. I love the whole way of engaging with records. But I also am a digital user. I stream music all the time. So it is important, but it's not the only way that I engage with music.
Vinyl is important to me as a listening experience, collecting experience, and definitely like a cultural thing. Like I love seeing people coming into the shop and talking about getting together and listening to records, or I'll bring a few records over and we'll have a few drinks and listen to some music, and that's really nice to see that culture still existing.
I love vinyl quite a bit. I just don't want to have vinyl within my world anymore as far as having to pack it around. What's important to me and what I've come to realize is it's the music. It's not so much what I'm using to get the music. So I can still get the music and I'm fine with it.
Is vinyl important to me? Yes and no. I mean, I have a relationship with it. It's undeniable. I appreciate the relationship that I have with it. Sometimes I struggle with it, like any kind of like collecting, and obviously I've been through periods in my life where I've become totally obsessed with things. If it went away, would I be sad? Maybe. I guess for me it's always been more about the music, and especially at this point in my life, I could probably take or leave the object. But it doesn't mean I don't have a deep appreciation for it.
Vinyl has returned, but I don't think vinyl has ever left. It's definitely more popular, and I think it helps because now when you get new pressings, most of the time they include a digital copy of the album, so you don't have to make that decision between whether you can have a physical copy or have it on whatever device you use. So I think it's never really left entirely, but it's definitely gained popularity.
There is a fad happening for sure. So I feel like the amount of people that are buying records right now will probably decline, but the people that get into it and are fully invested into it will stay into it, and the people that were always there will always be there. Some stores might be doing really well right now. They might not be doing so well in the next 4 or 5 years if they don't adjust, if some sort of bubble collapses or a correction happens, but that remains to be seen.
As somebody who spent a good deal of their life in record stores, buying records, and then working in record stores, owning a record store, vinyl's never really gone away. Definitely it's like ebbed and flowed. Do I think it's coming back? I think there's renewed interest for sure, but I don't think it's not gonna return in the sort of like ubiquitous form that it existed in the 70s and 80s. I don't think that's not the way people consume any kind of culture now. Is it probably sustainable? It might be. I mean, as long as the oil doesn't run out. On the return, I don't know, but I think it's here for the time being.
I would say that there's a resurgence in vinyl, mostly because of availability. The records are starting to pop up everywhere again, not just in independent stores. But I would also say that like with any sort of resurgence, there's the danger of saturating a format. It will last regardless because people are always going to be looking for used records and collectible records, and that never stopped even when the CD appeared.
Do I think vinyl has returned? Yes and no. I would say that it, on the one hand, has never gone away, especially when you look at some genres of music over other genres of music. But for sure, in the larger kind of marketplace, commercialized marketplace of popular music, vinyl is experiencing a small but significant resurgence or return. The return is probably more limited than the entire lifespan of vinyl will be from this point on. We'll always have some vinyl with us.